morning, everybody. Welcome back to the Monday caffeinated edition, only mildly caffeinated edition of Reaper Pro Tips. With me, your host, Anne, disembodied beard John. When is Quindy? Quindy's back! Yay! And Quindy, our disembodied hands queen, has returned. Yay! All worship the disembodied hands queen. Yay! With a sub for 48 months, which means I have to sing. Oh man, it's one of those days. Quadruple subiversary, quadruple subiversary, quadruple subiversary, happy quadruple subiversary. There you go. Whoa, my voice is not warmed up for the day. Dearie. But yes, disembodied beard John has to. Yes, disembodied beard John is here too. And Kraniko for 51 months. I had to scroll back. Almost double your brain cells. Diva's like, my brain cells are mighty. I will type for you. Yes. Uh-huh. The one time one of my cats managed to get onto a keyboard, he actually typed dog. And I shit you not. Like, he got on the keyboard, we grabbed him off, I looked down, he had typed dog. Apparently he wanted to be one of those instead. I don't know. We certainly did not need more of them at that point, so. But yes. Random holiday madness. Oh, God. I don't have events, but I have, when did it go from, okay, I should order Christmas presents this week, to, oh my fucking God, I have to order Christmas presents this week. Yeah, it went from that to that. Yeah, it's like that. I also bought yarn. I bought yarn this weekend, Kerniko, because my mom was in town and we went to the yarn store. And she was good. She bought nothing. I was bad. I bought everything. Begged off last night due to fatigue. That's totally a good excuse in our... I wish I had your excuse. Oh, wow. Well, that's good, Shady Maru. Thanks. Thanks for picking up some bone stuff. Yeah. When did it... You have to wrap this week, yeah. I need to order more stuff. I need to get on it. I need to put that on my list today. I have such a long list, oh my God. It's actually kind of a list for the week of please don't forget this crap, Anne. You ever have those lists? The please don't forget this crap, whoever you are? It's like that. I need to get custom sticky notes printed that just say please don't forget this crap, Anne. And just do it. I'm sure there are custom sticky notes out there, right? I'll type it in Leet too. It's like PLZ. But I totally have a please don't forget this crap list. When it all builds up, I need to look into that. Custom sticky notes. Those are made for people like me. And then order tea, damn it. I need to order. I still haven't decided about the Switch. It's just so expensive. I'm like, I know I'm waffling. I know we'd probably get use out of it. I didn't even have time to finish my tea this morning. You treated yourself to a horde of dwarves. Awesome. Hey, in honor of Luca. Mini paint pants. If you're a Luca watcher. Miniatures Den. That was the running gag for a long time. I don't know if you're a Luca watcher, but that we would only ever send him dwarves. Yeah, as he turns in there with the other. Yep. Small gifts for 10 people ready this Saturday. Ugh. At least most of my stuff is small, right? Or easy to order. And I don't have much of it. And mostly, most of my family does gift cards anyway, so. I'm just going to chug the last of the tea, because otherwise it's going to go tepid. Then it won't be tasty, and then why? Why drink tea if it's not tasty? Sorry for the slight late start. I switched on my diet, and it has affected my guts, and so I'm afraid that I needed extra time this morning. Let's just put it that way. I'm trying to figure it out. It's like my health is a giant jigsaw puzzle. You ever had that feeling? So I stopped almost all caffeine, which I had been hitting really hard. Too hard. It was upsetting my digestion. And now I'm having other things happen. So I'm like, oh shit, what do I have to do now? Yeah, I have that one in my cart, Shady Maru. I haven't played Mario Kart for so many years. Like, it has honestly been like 15 years since I played Mario Kart. So it's like, yeah, gang, still running. Big Jimbo, you got it. But that's funny, Cornico. But I'm gonna buy one. I think I just need to just get my brain out and say, brain, this is just a one-time expenditure. We're just gonna take it out of this account we don't look at, and we're just gonna spend it. I mean, it's good that my brain does not just go out wildly running and buying things, although it certainly did at the yarn store. But I do that, like, it was funny because the lady looked me up in the system. She's like, you haven't been here for 8 months. I'm like, perfect. I want to be at the yarn store every 8 months. Because when I go, I drop $200. I'm like, ah. So now I have to knit, guys. I have to get knitting this winter. Luckily, it's knitting season. Oh yeah, Luca's Italian, living in Spain, and strong cursing and lots of innuendos. He's entertaining, and he's a sweet guy, and he's also an excellent teacher. So those are the reasons to watch Luca. Those are all the reasons to watch Luca. And the alpacas. I think one of the yarn I bought was alpaca, actually. I think of Luca now every time I see a freaking alpaca. The man has branded alpacas in his image. At least for me. Yeah. So, but I'm picking it up for the new Zelda game, Shady. Because I feel like it's right up David's alley. My husband. Yes, months, not moths. Socks are almost finished. Yeah. Go for it, Twistoma. Yeah, my mom is starting on socks, actually. I told her I had somebody on my stream who was having success with socks. Success? Is that success? Where is Zachariah when I need him? Or Valandar. Either of them would have laughed at that one. But yes, I'm tempted to try socks, but I really have to up my knitting game. Like, it's to the point, honestly, where I just look at a pattern, and if it's not just simple stockinette stitch or seed stitch, I'm like, bah! I have to get over that. I know all the little abbreviations aren't really that hard, but sometimes I just want to... Gibson, there you go. Somebody needed to take it up. Thank you, Gibson. Right. Yeah, and that's David too, Inara. That's why, like, the only tactic I can do is, like, during the year, I have to kind of, like, pay attention. And if he, like, is kind of mooning after something, but then he's like, that really just means that his don't spend money urge is kicked in. And it probably is a good gift for him, but he just chose not to pick it up. Or for some reason, he's just like, I don't have time now. Those are the best ones. Because then you know they really want it. But the great thing about David is he's absent-minded. So he'll forget entirely, and then I'll give it to him for Christmas, and he'll be like, But if DH has a good memory, then you're out of luck. I mean, you could just get him a gift card for somewhere like My Mini Factory or something, or whatever miniatures company he really likes it, or if they have gift cards. I don't know. Otherwise you have to be sneaky, right? You have to think about, okay, is there a tool or is there a thing, like, this is what I've done for the last couple of years. Is there a thing David's always looking for that he doesn't have? So it was the side cutters, a new pair of really snazzy side cutters because he was doing so much GW, and then last year it was little rulers because he's always looking for a tiny straight edge, and he doesn't have them, you know. But with him, I know this year he's mostly been just looking for new games to play, and he just hasn't found any, like, on his usual platforms. And we've got Xbox, and we've got, of course, we do, the thing online. I don't remember. Anyway. You know, Steam. We do Steam. But he just hasn't found anything. And Zelda is only on the Switch. So I'm like, well... And there are other games on the Switch, because I feel like a lot of those games are games he would like. Because he really likes, like, the puzzle games and the just the jumping games and the... he likes all that crap, and I feel like just glancing at it, and he likes RPGs that are puzzle RPGs too, and I feel like there's a fair amount of that too. So yeah, so I think I'm gonna get it. Thanks, Gibson. Thanks everybody saying they love their Switch. You're helping my soul, because I'm like, do we really need this? This is my father talking, right? This is my dad in my brain sitting here going, do we really need it? It's a Christmas present. Oh, no, Inara. Yeah. Yeah, if they talk about it, that's the kicker. If they talk about it too much, you know it's in their brain. They're probably going to get it themselves. Like, it really is really hard. The new Zelda. He's played the previous Zelda, Gibson. He hasn't played the new one. Obviously, it just came out this year. But it's so highly rated. Like, I have to think he'd like it. So... yeah. Anyway, let's do some. Crap. I need to get some putty. I'm not working with Milliput today. I refuse. I refuse to work with Milliput. We're gonna try to do something interesting on this. We're gonna try to make kind of a terrorist look. One second. I'll get my green. It always kind of amuses me when I go into the freezer and dig behind the frozen fruit and there's a bunch of green stuff. I don't know if I'll play it. Yeah, no. Monster Hunter I don't think is his thing. A bag of scissors. That's really good, Turgeon. That's really good. I don't know I don't know that we will play together, but I mean, there are games on there that I would be interested in, but let's face it, like, other stuff is my priority. Although I did like hit Path of Exile hard this weekend. Harder than I've hit a game for a while. I must have needed a break after my parents left. It was just like wham, and I'm level 35. Every once in a while I do that. Every once in a while I'm just like, Yeah, he's not into grindy, but he really likes he loves puzzle games. He loves I like to watch him play the games, so more than play together, I enjoy like watching people who are good at it play video games because I'm not good at it. What I am good is noticing little details. So stuff that needs you to notice little details, I'm actually an asset for him because I'll watch him play and I'll be like, did you see that dangly rope back there? And he'll be like, dangly rope? You know. So he actually acknowledges that I'm really good at details in these games. And I notice the stuff that he needs to notice but doesn't. I'm much more observant. My observant skill is higher than David. So we like to do it together, but I don't play, I just watch. I'm one of those. I watched friends play through Final Fantasy 8, 9, 10, and X, and I had a great time doing so. And I would have been terrible at those games, but because they were so good at them, I got to enjoy the story and the monsters and the graphics without playing them. Because I'm just not, yeah. Right, see, that's not a David game. I think we're safe from Monster Hunter, Gurniko. Bopping things on the snoot until they drop rubies. Boop. That would be cute. That would be the cute mod of that game, is that instead of killing the monster, you have to boop it on the snoot multiple times. Then the number of times you have to successfully boop it on the snoot varies by the difficulty of the monster. Yeah, yep, 25 hours in 2 days. Yeah, I wasn't quite that bad, but I don't normally sit all day Sunday and play video games. I sat half of the day yesterday and played Path of Exile. And I was so happy to do so. Like, I was just, like, giggling every time I blew up a room full of monsters, so I must have needed it. I must have desperately needed it. Although I don't know if I'm gonna like my build, like, as it progresses. As I look at it, I'm like, oh, this isn't my usual thing. But I'm gonna try it. Because I like blowing up things. And it blows up lots of things. Sometimes you just need to blow up things. Am I right? Am I right, guys? as I'm mixing up my green stuff here. We're going to use a mixture of cork and green as usual, but I'm going to look for I need my thinner cork, and if I don't find it around here, I'm going to have to steal it from David. I know he has a bunch of the thinner cork. I want to build him standing on like 2 rocks with some like the appearance of rushing water coming down. We haven't done anything like that before. And he's springtime, and I always think of running water in spring, you know, thawing and all that, because I'm from Wisconsin and things freeze solid. So I really want to get, there's some little bits, but I really need a bigger piece. Where did I put my bigger piece? Aha! I knew it had to be around here somewhere. All right. Those little pieces might work. I've got a bigger piece too. I did manage to get some things done yesterday, which I needed to get done, but in general, I just let myself have a mental health day, and it was actually really nice. Because while my parents were here, you know, I had to cook. I had to cook that night. And it's just my folks. Like, I love my folks, but, you know, when they're in your house, like, you're like, is my mother silently judging everything? Even though my mother is the sweetest, awesome person, and I love her. I love how awesome she is. But she's, like, very, very hardcore on, like, a clean, orderly house. And for a long time, I was the opposite of that. So I keep these little pieces so that we can create, like, little bits of debris as we do this, by the way. The way to really do this, to be honest, is probably with Sculpey. I'm going to try to build kind of a terraced look with the cork and build it up and break it down and do it that way. Play a tiny bipedal cat. Oh, wow. Cornico, that mod is amazing. Yeah. Okay, if I ever played Monster Hunter, that's the Monster Hunter I want to play. All right. So I want this to kind of go up in the back and then go down, but I want 2 steppy stones for him to stand on. So let's see if I can build this. We can chat while I make a total hash of it, okay? Well, first we should trim his feet more, so let's do that. That's easy. But yeah. Yeah, but part of me, you know, is all like into do. And I forget because all creatives are like this. We're always like, because our lives, because everything else in our lives, like at work and everything, is always like, get it done, push. And what creative people forget is that that's, for many of us, that's anathema. Like, for those of us who are really like high achiever, like mindset, like it can feed us, right? But that's not as many of us as those of us who really need to like take in material before we can output material. And I definitely am need to take in material, even if that material is killing tiny monsters on a screen. All right, but yeah, so I forget that push just shuts down my creativity eventually. Let's get this in focus at about this level, I think. Because after I took my mental health yesterday, I actually started getting more ideas for the novel, or for the novella, rather. And I was like, oh, yeah, dumbass, remember you need to do this. Because I've been pushing. I've been pushing with North of the Wind and fighting it, and then realizing I didn't need to write North of the Wind right now. I needed to write this novella. And then push. Got to catch up because we wasted all this time on North of the Wind, even though it's not a waste because I'm going to use it. All right, so this is a little difficult just because it's like deep. There we go. And we've used these pieces of broken up sprue before. We've chunked them up into things where they look like big broken cobblestones and put them together with cork mixings on a base and created the base for our adventurer Sophie. If you remember, that one is now with Ron, so I cannot show it off. I think I'm going to trim him all the way down. I think I need to have his feet pretty much level so that I can pin him onto whatever I make. When you're not sure and you've got a wide stance mini like this, just take down as much of this crap as you can. And the nice thing about Bones USA is you can pin into it really easily. It's softer plastic, so it's much easier. And there's an example of how it can shear, right? I got this first part, and then it sheared for the second. You can see that smooth break. And that's the danger. That's just like we discovered with our Elf Ranger on Friday when we had that shear. It just, weird pressure points can cause things to split in odd ways just because we can't see the underlying composition of the plastic. So when you've got a plastic that's at all brittle, and this is why a lot of Reaper's big stuff is still PVC, that and it's cheaper, but the bendy PVC is much easier to just clip off bits and do modding. Here you do have to be careful with the bone chaussee. I did, by the way, get a whole new Zap-A-Gap, so we can fix illustratively when we get back around to that. Alrighty. It's kind of fun because I kind of want to do a bit of basing, like, just for the next couple of weeks almost, since I did get my Christmas figures, but we're not going to have time, right? So, but what I was thinking is this is going to be a springtime base. Illustrally is going to be a fall base. And then we've got Corindra, who's a winter base. And it might be fun to, like, just be doing a lot of that right now. So I might throw Corindra back into the thing, Quindy. We might have a month of a lot of base work. Yeah, you gotta take mental health for sure, Gibson, when you're doing... Yeah, because programming is a creative process, for sure. And it's a big problem-solving process, too, right? That's what David loves about it. He actually likes when things go wrong at work because he enjoys the challenge of figuring out what the heck and can he fix it. So we're just trimming it. And now once we've got these little plugs on the bottom of the feet, if you're doing a Sculpey base, you can keep these little plugs. Because they're pretty much, as long as you trim it so that it's straight down off of the foot, then essentially you can press this down into your Sculpey and get a pretty much a mold to, like, sink the foot into, and it'll help give you more support. You won't need to pin if you do that. You like basing episodes? I like basing episodes too. It's kind of relaxing. Yeah, David is very much, he did well with my parents over the weekend too. The thing is that my dad is very, very kind of like... My dad is the nosy, thinks he has to step in and fix stuff. But David's dad is also that way. So he knows how to deal with my dad just by virtue of having had his dad. They're just slightly different flavors. Yeah. So if you are doing a like sculpting a base with Sculpey or Fimo, which I use more these days because I like the way it bakes. Fimo's like Super Sculpey, and I liked Super Sculpey better than regular Sculpey. But yeah, so if you're doing that, where you have a clay of some sort that you're working with the base, you can just keep these tabs on the bottom, and I would just take a knife, and I would trim off the little extra bits. We did establish I need a new knife blade, though. I should probably do something about that. So just gently trim around the foot. And this is why a lot of people do their basing first, but I just find that I don't get a good idea for the base until the character is itself, like, finished. Like, at that point, I'll have a theme in mind, and I'll be able to do it, but I just can't, or I could, but I just feel like I'd end up redoing stuff, because I wouldn't have a clear concept yet. It's important to me I have a clear concept of character before I do that, before I do a base. So yeah, because we didn't know necessarily that he was going to be like a springtime wood elf. We thought he was, but things can go sideways. So then you've got just that straight pillar, which is formed to the foot. Make sure that if you look at it from above, you're pretty much straight up and down. If you see anything sticking out, then trim it back. And there we go. So see how it disappears? So I know that it's now going straight down under the foot. So if you have a clay base, you can just press down and sink those into the clay. And then when you bake the clay and come back, wiggle it around and make it a little bigger, because clay does tend to shrink or fall in on itself a little bit during baking. But you can essentially make holes in your base where these fit almost perfectly. And then you have a huge stability point that will keep the figure stuck to the base. I used to do a lot of Sculpey bases. I don't on here just because, I have to bake it and come back to it. But if I don't get these terraces to work right in cork, then I will absolutely whip out the, maybe we'll use our cosplay. We'll whip out the cosplay and use that. I have some Fimo, but I have this cosplay, and I'm liking the cosplay. I'm just going to cut off the feet here. Boop. So this is kind of another variation of just like sculpting over the integral base, where you're using the integral base to lock the model down onto the base. But this is a little bit more nuanced, where you're using it to create essentially big plastic pins that you sink into your clay base to make a custom recess that you can then slot the figure into. And you still usually need to do a little putty work around the foot to fit in, but fit those things in, but it's not a big deal. But yeah, I kind of came to a realization after my huge Diablo binge when I started getting ideas for the book again. And I was like, oh, I need to do this. You know, like I've been pushing myself too hard, essentially. And this happens with almost every author. Like everybody who's written about this, who's a published author, indie or traditional, gets this pressure. It's the people are expecting the next book pressure. When I still had like the 2 books and I hadn't published at all, there was zero pressure. I could take as long as I wanted to write something, and I could write whatever I wanted. But now there's expectations, right? And a lot of those expectations are just being put on you by yourself. So realizing that is important, but really realizing it in your gut, because you can tell yourself that in your head, right? But your head is not really going to command your gut. It's really the other way around. So you have to instead look at your gut and convince your gut, hey, no, we could just write. We should just write. Just write. Just totally put everybody else out of your head. So I feel like that's what I have to do going forward. I just need to write as if nobody is expecting anything. This is where Turgeon comes in and says, no! Damn it, get the book done. You can say damn it, get the book done when like I'm finished the rough draft. So I'm just using a clipper shear, but it's bending the ankle a little bit, and so I don't want to do that. It's when you get close to the foot, do not do what I just did. Instead, grab your knife and start to pare down very gently around the foot. And you know what? If you lose a little bit of paint, you just touch it up. Let's face it, you're going to be sinking this into a base if you do it this way, and you're probably going to be puttying anyway, and you're probably going to be putting basing materials up against this foot, so if you lose a tiny bit of paint, it's going to be the easiest thing to touch up. And usually if you go right up against the foot, you can feel that little ledge that is the base that's remaining, so you can easily cut straight down. Yeah, maybe we will cosplay this. Maybe it will give me better results than cork. I haven't used the cosplay for a big base yet. And we did use the cork for Corindra's, so although we used the big fat cork. And I haven't done this particular thing before, so maybe I should do it for you guys. Maybe we should just use the cosplay. I have an image. If I've got an image in my mind, like sometimes, honestly, using the cork can be fun. Because if you don't have an image in your mind, kind of what you want, playing with the cork can give you ideas. Just trying to throw chunks on top of chunks can give you some really beautiful irregular shapes that you might not have otherwise done. And that's why I like cork. I feel like there is a certain randomness when I just rip the cork and start putting it in configurations. I feel like there's a certain randomness that it gives me, a certain spontaneity that I really enjoy. So like I really want something that's built up and coming down, right, into like maybe a pool down here. So maybe I just want to create my little pool. Maybe I want to use that piece of cork. See, this is the thing. The other thing is that cork is faster, right? You don't sculpt it and then bake it. You can sculpt it right away and really lock it in. I could use this bigger piece instead, but that's a little wider. Yeah, I want it shorter. So, okay, compositionally speaking, this implies more of a long shore, right? And this implies more of a just little pool because it's got more features to it. So I think I'm gonna want to use this one. And I feel like I go back and forth on what I want to do here. I could use bigger cork on the backside here, but I feel like I want to use more smaller pieces and build it up. So just ripping it off. Hello, Richard. Eskimo roses, yep. So since I don't have to worry, I can fill stuff in with green. What I can do now that I know I want this to make a small like pool for water to splash into, I can build in the backside here just by grabbing this. And I could use a marker to just like say, hey, this is where I want to cut, or I could just cut straight, kind of freehand cut it. And I don't necessarily need or want to cut it all the way in. What I want to do is make a perforation. So if you stick your knife in, you can essentially make a perforation where then you can break and get a natural texture, because you don't necessarily want a smooth texture on the backside. All right, so now I need a straight portion over here. I could probably use, I don't want to fill in that big of a gap though. Yeah, need to have a custom piece. All right, maybe this. Kind of mucking around. And at this point you can muck around. You have all the freedom in the world to muck at this point. That's interesting. And remember, you can turn pieces over to try to find the right fit. That might work. That'll give me a raw base, and then I can build more stuff up. Although I might want more. Now I have to kind of look, because he's big. I need to make sure he's got footing as I raise this up. I could start with the cork and then go higher with it. For that matter, I could bake the cork because it wouldn't catch on fire or anything. But I don't know that I want to do that. All right. Yes, I can get filled. Well, I'm going to raise up another level. I just want a base down here to work from. So, yeah, so this will work, I think. And I still need more rock over here, but I can sculpt that. I don't mind a little bit of overhang because I can fix it with my knife. So again, if you take your cork and take your knife and you just kind of rip out little bits that are hanging over. I do use my knife blade, but more often I use one of my sculpting blades. Any of these chisels work really well because they're not as sharp as a knife blade and they're actually stronger, they're thicker. You can really just kind of press on them without worried about breakage. Get the cork to crumble a bit there. There. That fits, that fits, that fits. Sometimes you want the cork to hang over the edge to give you more of a 3D effect, and sometimes you don't, and that's up to you. And there is no right or wrong answer here. Now I'm going to keep all these little cork bits because I can use them. Alright, I'm going to glue these down. Probably just flood them with super glue. Get the main piece, the pool piece, right. And I'm going to need to chew away at this pool piece as well. So I should chew it before I glue it. I want to make a little channel for the water to run into. Or run through, kind of a waterfall, if you will. We're going to make a tiny waterfall into a little pool. And I'll probably sculpt it. I probably won't use water effects until the end, where I might make some splooshes. Boop. Alright. But yeah, it's so easy to use cork and gap fill if I need to. Exactly. Inara's got it right. She gets it. Alright, here I can fit all these guys pretty firmly on here. That's going to be our first layer. I can add detail. I'm going to be making things go up a mountainside, kind of, or a hillside. Let me get my new glue. I'm going to use super glue because I'm totally impatient. White glue is more suitable for cork. Super glue tends to soak in, but to just kind of sit these pieces down. Actually, I should use my gel. That way it won't. So if you use a thinner super glue with cork, it is going to soak in. You're going to lose some of it. But if you use a thicker glue like the gel, then it should set. But it's going to take a little longer. I perforate with my knife, Richard, and if I don't have a sculpting tool, I will absolutely use the tip of the knife as as in place of. So the nice thing about this not setting right away is that it is going to be easy to scooch. We need to scooch things. Scooch. So I need to be able to kind of fit this in where I want it. I want to make a pool. I want to scooch it up a little bit more. I feel like that's okay. Now I can get these guys in. And it'll take a little longer to set because gel. And you may want there we go. Let's do that. Boop. You may want to put something flat and heavy on top of it, like a book, to press it down if you need to. And sometimes I put the glue on the base, and sometimes I put it on the cork. Depends on the piece I'm working with and what I want out of it. We'll just keep that here. We've got enough random kind of interesting edges there that I like it. A little bit of an overhang there, which I like. We're going to fill in that stuff back there, or at least create a new ledge up above it. Oh, that's kind of nice, actually. Because anything you have that's like a fissure, you can leave that and have that be a crack in the rock. I kind of like this. I kind of like this kite-shaped thing. I need to make the water coming in maybe from that place. Remember, his feet are going to be placed on either side, so I need to make sure I've got a wide enough stance for him. This works, though. If I cut his feet down, that makes 1 foot almost off the base. It puts him into kind of a diagonal, but he's leaning this way, so that actually works. So what I'm feeling is when you've got a model that's leaning like this, you can make that foot that the weight's not on, you can make that foot off the side of the base. Your main foot, where the weight is on it, put that foot on something solid. Otherwise, it's going to feel like the whole model's falling over. Like if his weight was actually on this foot, and I put it on this thing that I'm thinking of like projecting off the side of the base, it would actually feel like the model was like about to tip over. But because his weight is so firmly on this foot, as long as I anchor this foot on the main central part of the base, we're fine. We can do that. We can do an off-balance composition and it will be just fine. So that's a lucky find, actually. And I love this shape. It's very irregular, but I can work like water trickling down the rock there. Hey, Slayer. How you carry, Michael? Woo! Prime sub. Do, 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 do. Anyway, it's my impromptu prime sub song. 40 months. Thank you. Thank you, Carrie Michael. Yay. Lurkin? Okay. Use clothes pegs. Interesting. That's fun. Usually I don't find I need to clamp it that hard, but if you're working with bigger sheets, absolutely. But clothes pegs make a lot of sense. I think I got a fairly flat fit. It's like if I don't get a flat fit, if I've got a little bit over an edge and I want to keep that, then I can see clamping it down or putting something heavier on top. But right now, I really like this fit. I want the water to come up here and go back up there, and then maybe I can put a tiny bit more cork at the back to suggest another rise behind it. But I love this angle. I love that look, that kind of off-balance look we're getting. I'm going to use a little extra glue here. I could also sink like pins through the different layers of cork to make sure I've got a solid hit, solid kind of set. I feel like that is kind of cool. Cool. We can make this a cool protruding rock. Yeah, clothes pegs. Yes. Yeah, that makes sense. When you've got the destructo cat, the active cat going on. Alrighty. But yeah, I'm feeling like something cool and terraced would be neat like this, but I want to make sure he's got his feet on firm I've got a firm grasp on where his feet are. Now I need that. So since I'm working with cork and I've decided not to work with the cosclay, I'm going to be cutting off these little pegs on his feet. We don't even have chip bag clips. We actually just have binder clips, which would be fine too. Now, usually what I'll do is I'm going to go a little bit below the foot. And then I'm going to shave it away. Shave it away with my knife. Because remember, you can get that shear, which we just got, and that can inadvertently take off parts of your foot. I lost a tiny bit of the toe there. But that's easy to touch up. So that's why I like to cut down further from the foot than just right under it. And we'll trim up his feet and we'll pin. And when we pin, we can take those pins and shoot them all the way down through the cork and through the base on the bottom if we have a long enough pin and if our pin vise is amenable. Which gives it, again, an extra layer of stability. And then when you sink that pin down through the bottom, you can either bend the tips if you can find the wherewithal, or you can just put a little blob of green on the end of the tips, and that helps to anchor everything. So let's carve away here. I'm gonna, hold on. Do I have, I thought I had extra blades down here somewhere. I thought I did. But everything has gotten, you know, like it does. I know I have an extra blade in the other room. 1 second while I get a new knife blade, guys. It just takes a sec. Alright, total fail. I don't know where I stuffed my knife blades. I'm going to have to look for them later. However, I did have another knife in the other room, and it's gotten a lot less abuse, so it's a sharper blade. Oh, okay. And did I just leave my glasses in the other room? Yes, because that's the Anne I am today. And I know I'm going to, like, find the extra knife blades in my drawer right after I'm done with this stream. It's inevitable. All right. So we'll move our little base that's setting off to the side. Yeah, any kind of clip. But I'm pretty confident that that's going to be fine, so I'm going to just leave it without clips. I do not have a cat to blow things off of the top of tables, thank God. We got our Christmas tree this weekend while my parents were here. Mom helped us decorate. See, I'm taking off a little bit of the paint here, trimming off the feet, but that's all right. I know I'm going to have room to touch it up, so. And this is also why it's good to get to practice with green, so that you don't mind if, like, you accidentally take off a little bit of something and you need to green stuff a little bit more on. You have the skills to do it. And that makes you a lot more relaxed when you're doing this sort of thing, because you don't freak out if you take off a little bit too much. All right. Now I'm kind of posing him, figuring out where we are. I want to see how far off I want to be. Some more central is better, I think. Because I also want him straddling the fall of water, so, and I do need to take a little bit more off of that toe. But that foot is solid. See, I need to flatten out the green there. Yes, good at training pets. My tree does not have any miniatures on it. Kiki has left it alone, though, for the most part. She snoodled it a lot when we were putting it up because we were paying attention to it. But the minute we ceased paying attention to it, it is no longer interesting. She still gets very interested when I water it, because she's like, is that water for me? So I've taken to watering it at night after we put her to bed. But other than that, she's been good. Okay, flattened out the bottom of that foot real nice. They probably do. They're big models. I mean, I don't know about Storm Giant Queen. But it wouldn't surprise me if the dragon is in multiple pieces, because that's pretty standard. Although, I guess not for bones. I don't know. Maybe John should answer. But yeah, I would suspect that that is the case, that at least the dragon would come in a few pieces. But that's because you spend so much time there. If you spend time there, it must be interesting. So I might not be able to do too much of a back lip going up with. I won't be able to do it with cork, I think, because when I place the feet where I want them, I don't have a lot of room behind this cape. So if I'm gonna suggest more elevation, I'll have to do it with green. I'll have to actually create that illusion with green, but that's all right. But I feel like slightly off center, like this, is a great look for him. I feel like that's a really, really good balance right there. So I'll have his foot just hanging over the lip a little bit on this side. And I will have my water coming down through here. So I'm going to take the chisel and chisel that out. Well, the Storm Giant King was pretty big from what I saw, and she matches his height right from the update, so. But yeah, people have been asking for 5th edition size giants, so. Ye get what ye ask for sometimes. And again, keeping all these little crumblies so that I can use them for basing. The nice thing about the cork is because it's got the same texture as everything you're doing here. It makes very convincing rockfall, right? Because it's just what you get when you crumble this. You get that, and that's what rockfall is. It's just crumbled stone. So I'm going to create a little shelf here for the water to come down. I'm going to save all these little debris. I want the water to go back here in a channel. Probably follow that. I think his foot's going to land right about there. We can always double check this if we have to. One thing I will do if I'm cutting a channel, you use it for fill, Twisted Oma. You keep the tiny pieces of cork because you can use it to fill and create a more natural boundary here. You just put a line of glue in there and then sprinkle it on just like with regular basing. But because it's the same material as I'm using for this, I just find it looks more natural. So here I will actually cut a channel in with my knife, just real shallow to get me started. Sometimes the flat top of the cork, since it's been compressed, it'll resist your pulling it up with tools a little bit. But if you make the start of a channel, like I'm doing here, then you can grab your sculpting tool and more easily pull apart. You've got ingress, so you can pull apart that stuff. And this is just the beginning. I'll go in and I'll be using green. I'll be using, some other basing materials probably to create the look I want for this, but I want right now kind of a jagged channel going back. And then I am going to create the illusion of that going up, so no one listens to a giant feathered serpent. That's because our feathered serpents haven't historically sold. I think we had one a while ago. There are just so many that sound cool, and then when you like go to look at them or go to sculpt one, you're like, it is a snake with feathers. Lots of feathers instead of lots of scales. Christmas and the box smells like pizza. Well, it did come from Pizza Dungeon, right? The challenge with giant feathered serpents, though, for me as a painter, like, I want it to be interesting, right? I really would like it to have, like, different stuff on it, like jewelry or armor or something to break up all those feathers. Or if not that, the feathers need to be like dragons these days, that there needs to be different types of feathers on the creature to make it interesting. Otherwise, for me, it's just like even more annoying to paint than dragons, because it's all those feathers instead of all those scales, and feathers are harder to make look good depending on how you sculpt them. Only my opinion, of course. All right, what do we got? We've got enough room from between our channel. I might actually make that go out a little bit more. Maybe go all the way over here. Maybe I'll, again, if I'm going to deviate from this, no, it's a small quaddle. Yeah, but again, that was smaller, right? The Shadowrun Feathered Serpent. So again, I'm going to use my knife to just cut a little bit and give me a starting, if I want to make this this channel wider and more interesting. I've loved cork for this stuff for a very long time. That's a nice piece of rock for the bottom there that we just got off there. So there we go. And then if we want to just rip out a few random chunks to give us variety, we can. So that is more like that. You can see that channel that I've dug through there. Okay. You already did a bunch of dinosaurs, but I guess you could do a different sort of jungle. Alrighty, so I've got some of that. I've got a little bit of a pool up here where my water can come out of. I'll probably refine the look of this as I'm sculpting my water. If I want the water to, I want it to have worn away the rock a little bit here, so I'm just going to try to pull away with this with my sculpting tool. Because the water's not just going to land on a flat section of rock and pour over. It's going to have dug a little bit of a pool where it lands. I do always forget that I feel a little bit better when I'm mostly off of caffeine. I'm definitely, the first few days were rough. I'm not completely 100% off of caffeine, but I dropped my consumption a lot. But I do feel more alert in general, which is contradictory, but alright, I think we're good. I can feel it hard here, where it has like the glue has kind of soaked into the cork and made it a little more brittle. That's okay. Okay, here along this crack is way too obviously carved by a knife, so we need to do some little bit of breakages here. But I need to be careful because this part is overhanging, and I don't want it to break off entirely. I could glue it back on if it did, but so mostly now what we're working on is we're breaking up outlines to make them look more natural, which is pretty good right now. Yeah, Tarzan. Yeah, you guys should go and mention that on the Bone 7 thread on Facebook if you have a Facebook account. Yeah, they always make the scales look more like they're turning into feathers. Like bushed out like that. Presumably to give it a different outline and make it look more interesting, but I don't know what I would do if I had to design a feathered serpent. Alrighty. So that has definitely improved the look of this. It looks more like a natural fisher now. Be real gentle if I cut away at the edges. Pushing back toward the main body, I can keep this projection of stone. Stone with quotation marks around it. And make this look much more no, it looks much more natural. It's kind of like work with keeping an eye to that, and likewise with this little round area. I want to break it up. Make it less evident that I cut this originally. Less regular. Yeah, there was a warlord quaddle. Oh, all the friends I know who have gone off caffeine use go decaf if they like the flavor of coffee, but not the immense amount of caffeine and the crashes. There's some good decafs out there. Sadly, I can't even do that because the acidity is what hits me with coffee, so not a good idea. That's why I went tea. And there are decaf black teas, and I may end up going kind of in that direction. But I like a lot of the flavors of the flavored greens and rooibos and stuff, so mostly I've just switched down to really low caffeine green teas. I have a black and green blend that I use in the morning, but I don't have. Before I was hitting like double strength black tea in the morning plus more after stream plus afternoon. You know, I was hitting a lot of caffeine. Yes, you guys enjoy your coffee while you can have it. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. We have a local grinder that had one that I really liked. A local coffee place that sold the beans. Yeah, if you're really into the coffee flavor, yeah, just keep looking around. I forget which decaf it is that I have that I still have a bag of it. I probably should get rid of it. I doubt David's going to drink it. And if I can't really have it, then it's not worth keeping. Much as the flavor is pretty good. Alright, I'm just putzing around here trying to get some of this stuff. Most of this looks really good already, which is why it like made me go, ooh, I like that in the first place. But I'm just going to remove a little bit of this flat edge remove the flat wherever I can. And then I've got less room that I need to build up with texture. And to do that texture, we might just reach for some texture paste. Which is also a great thing that you can press these little cork tidbits into. So maybe I'll go and grab my... Do I have it here? Oh yeah, I think I have it. Is this my flexible? Yes! This stuff. Flexible modeling paste. Now this does not have texture in it, but sometimes I'm fine with that because I can press gravel or I can press cork bits or I can press tiny shards of plastic. I can press all those things into this modeling paste. So maybe we will play with this. And usually with the modeling paste, I'm going to work with my clay shapers. I tend to use the flat one as kind of a sculpting spatula. Like this guy, kind of a scoop. Okay, the same kind of like a flat tool that GW sells to work with their basing material, but really this is silicone, so it's going to clean off a lot easier. Yeah, coffee's not a big... Decaf tastes gross no matter what. Maybe you have a more refined palate for it than I do. Mostly I was just looking for something that vaguely tasted like coffee. Because I always dump a bunch of cream and sweetener into mine anyway. Alright, so we've got our modeling paste. Let's remember that we need our feet to go there. Hello, Anne. But we can start giving ourselves just a little bit of texture. And you gotta be, I'll use probably bring in a texture stamp after a bit, because this does tend to be stringy when you pull it up. Like, you can see my little strings there. We don't want those little strings. I could also take a synthetic brush that I'm not afraid to brutalize. This Games Workshop small dry brush is usually my throwaway brush if I need that, and I could use that to brush it down. You can use water on these. I need to know where my feet are, so let me check that. Feet. Okay. Boop. So I need to do around this area. I'm just going to put some paste down. And stipple it around. Okay, make just a little bit of texture. Yeah. Yeah, I just went off of it entirely when I realized how it... I mean, I knew it had been upsetting my guts for a while, but there came a point where I could no longer deal with that. So yeah, I just switched to tea. And now I've even switched off of black tea, so... But there have been many times over the years where I got kind of fed up with how dependent I was on caffeine and just went off of it. And this is one of those times, though. This one might stick because I do hate being dependent on it, and it isn't great for my guts, I've learned. There we go. All right, so we've just introduced a little bit of paste texture, and I can continue to do that in these grooves. One thing about these texture pastes, if you want them to stay good, introduce a little bit of water every time you use them. I had a little bit, this was definitely drying out. When I see the lid starting to definitely dry out, I'm throwing some water into it. You can thin this stuff, just like with Milliput. But if I put a few drops of water in the top every time, it doesn't dry out every time I use it. Right, yeah. Oh, yeah, Gibson. No. Yeah, chicory. Yep. Yeah, several of the teas I like have chicory in it. Thormel? Alright, so now, once that's starting to set, let me get out a texture stamp. But I need it to set before I start this texture stamping. I just want to put a little bit of ground texture in it. This is the back of a sponge. You can use sandpapers that are really coarse. I kind of see. Yeah, it's starting to set up. You don't want it to actually stick to your stamp. But once we have got kind of like, and I kind of test it, like if I see it start to stick to a stamp, I'll back off, but this one's just perfect. When it gets that opaque look, you're pretty good. You can also tamp it down a little bit with a finger, but when you're seeing those little threads come up, that's when you have to back off. So you can texture stamp this stuff just like green, but it's a little faster. Or I could just leave some of this texture in, or I could use my brush, get some water on it, and I can just put the brush over the top once it's a bit damp, and that will actually kill all those threads because it'll kind of melt the paste a little bit, melt the gel. Just be careful not to create new ones with your brush strokes. But if you've got some water on there, you should be okay. And that's created kind of a nice, you can see that nice rough texture. This is a good, if you don't, if you can control the length of your threads and just get that kind of sticky kind of texture, it's a good way to simulate really short grass on bases, where otherwise it can be hard to like get that kind of turfy. I'm going to do a sculpting of the water, probably Agent Marvel to start with, and then I may use water effects to elaborate on that. I don't like straight water effects, only water effects. I find that you need to put some sort of armature under it. With a little thing like this, I'll probably sculpt with green stuff, kind of a fill-in shape to show the stream of the water. I may then use water effects to give it a little extra oomph. That's usually what I like to do. Industrial Machine Yellow, Hyperion Yellow from Borderlands. Honestly, I mean, industrial yellows are usually just pure pigments, so you're likely looking at Lantern to start with, but it often has a green shade yellow to give it that almost fluorescent look. So what I tend to do if I'm doing hazard stripes or anything like that is I will base with like Lantern or Lantern plus Ochre to give it a yellow oxide to give it more coverage, and I'll go over white. And then I'll use something like a green shade yellow, like Canary or Clear Yellow. Clear Yellow is a good one to kind of mix in and do the highlight on. So do use that for a highlight. But I mean, it's always, any of those industrial yellows, usually they are based on this because it is the higher coverage yellow. Just really practically. But Borderlands isn't worried about what actually covers. Borderlands is interested in what looks right for them. I believe they use more of a green shade yellow, but I would still start with that high coverage yellow and then highlight it with the green shade yellow, the clear yellow, because that clear yellow is the least coverage pigment. The green shade yellow is that and magenta. Like magenta is like a 0.2 and green shade yellow is like a 0.2 pigment grind. So they have no coverage. So that I would say go for practicality. If you undercoat it with white, you're going to get a really bright yellow effect anyway, which is what you really want. Alright, so now I want to actually use some of this paste, I think, because I can sculpt the paste. I want to use it and then grab my little shards of cork, which I somehow managed to blow all over the place because that's the way this day is going. But that's okay. I have more shards of cork. My shards of cork are infinite. That's the problem with cork. It is very lightweight. If you breathe wrong or you sneeze, all your cork goes everywhere. Come here, cork. You're coming back. Coming back. I need you. And not with dog fur attached to you. Where did that come from, Kiki? There. Alright, now. 1 second. That's good, Inara. I'm just going to use a big fuzzy brush to brush all my cork into the place I want it. Some of it will get in my brush, but got a little bit of plastic shards in there. I don't really want those. Those don't look real natural. So I'll poke those out with a knife. Just gathering up some cork shards over here to use. If your plastic looks less like little shavings and more like little particles, you can use the plastic in this as well. There. I've got a little bit of plastic in there. All right. So I've got that deadfall stuff. Let's grab, I think I do need this. I'm glad your foot is doing great. Kiki loves cottage cheese. I put it in my eggs sometimes in the morning. All right, so let's do some fall. Let's get this in here, paste it into that crevice, and grab another glob of it and paste it in over here and here, and not really worrying about it right now, the shape of it. And grab some of these little bits, and I could use a tweezers if I wanted to really place this stuff wherever I wanted, or I could just press it. I'm going to take any excess and put it over here. Just press it into this to create some fallen rocks there. Boop. Get up there. And you usually want your big rocks in before you sprinkle your little rocks over the top. That's just the way that debris tends to be. And if I press it down into this flexible modeling gel or paste, it will set. And this one doesn't quite look right because it's a bit big for up there. I think I'm going to switch that one over here. And if I've got little bulgy areas, I'm just going to use this to kind of flatten the sculpting paste, modeling paste in. I've got a pet hair. We'll try to pluck that out successfully. If I get a little bit of the paste on my tool, that's not bad because I can use it to pick up these little fragments and bring them over to press into this area. So we've got some rockfall here, here. See, I still have cork stuck to my tool over here. I can stuff that over there. And if you leave a little bit of the gel coming out between rocks, that's fine. It's just going to dry. If you want to texture it, if you feel like it's not textured enough, you can do that, or you can just take the edge of your tool and kind of pull it out a bit here. And grab some cork to plop into it if you want. For this upper level surface though, we're going to be just building up more texture to build up kind of the back of this. The big mistake that I see people do because they're not sure what to do with a flat area on their cork is they just put a few like sprinkles of this stuff up on top here, but it's so artificially flat that it's very evident what's going on, and it doesn't look right. So what I'll be doing instead, I will be using some of this stuff, but first I'm going to build up more stuff on the back here. I want to build up a slight lip, and I still have that green stuff that I mixed up at the beginning of the stream, so I'm going to start working with that. The archer broke the ankle. This is the other wood elf. Yeah. You're not paying very much attention if you think this is the same model, Pendrake. No, we don't. We just did the ankle one, so we wouldn't be on it again. We're going to do our rotation. I did get more glue, so when I come back around to her, we'll fix her. But instead, we've been doing basing today. So making a base for Mr. Wood Elf here, Angry Link. Angry Link is getting his base today, or at least part of it. So I'm going to use this just as a kind of a big worm up here. And now that my putty is dry up here, my modeling paste, I'm going to pop in a ridge of sorts. Because I want to build this up. And doing it with the paste is going to take too long. And I'm not going to be able to control the look of it. So I want to make sure that that is low enough, that ridge that I'm building up is low enough not to intersect his cape, and it is just about right. So there's his stance. All right, I've got it. So let us get this into more of what it should be. So green stuff. Find a nice piece of cork to use as a stamp. Use it to press your green in. We just want kind of the effect of a ridge going up and coming down. I'll use my sculpting tool here just to blend it in a bit on the other side. No cold, yeah. Oh, I see, Pendrake, only bits. Okay, that's fine. It's cool. Gonna just tamp this down and get it. I can also use, I like to use these shovel, spade shaped tools too, to just kind of like get that feel of like sculpt rock in general. So I'm gonna bring this in. I'm gonna probably, I want to create kind of a rise at the back, like we have another terrace of stone. Oh, some of my putty is not dry. That's all right. It'll help to stick everything down. So just kind of a rough ridge here, because I can texture it as it gets set in. But you can see how the cork gives such much of a more obviously natural look, right, than the green. The green you need to sculpt. You can't just leave it. And I will be using more of the modeling paste, I think, also on top of this. But I just want a little bit of a ridge that says that, hey, this is continuing to go up in the back. You can also texture green with a brush if you've got a really hard brush, and these synthetics. The Games Workshop dry brush is a very stiff synthetic fiber, so you can use that to kind of work the green also. I'm going to put more rock fall along the front of this from our cork to make it blend in. So let's grab our stuff. Bye, Crowley. Jokes aside, Gibson, this is a good example of how whenever you start, because a lot of people, that's when people will stop. They'll think, oh, I can do this. Then they'll put it in and all it looks like is a caterpillar. And they'll stop. They'll be like, oh, it doesn't look right. And they don't realize that, no, you need to work it. You need to like put more work into it. If you put a little more work into it, it'll look perfect. But because it doesn't look right away, they kind of go, oh, no, this isn't going to look good. And they back off, right? They back off of it. But this is the way that, this is just the way of basing. Is it looks like just a general worm or a shape when you first put it down, and then it's all the details that you put in that make it look like what you want it to look like. I could also use sand and gravel if I wanted to instead of the cork bits, but I kind of like the cork bits, so even if I have to stop and grab more cork bits, I'll use these. Then I'll grab my paddle. Start pressing these guys in. Use it to make a little bit of texture. Press it into that putty so that they set in there. I did that, Pendrick. I didn't like it. It just wasn't giving me the right effect. I want that edge going up, so I'm using mostly the green as a backdrop. I did do the texture on the other side with a piece of cork, as I usually do. But on the front side, I just wasn't really happy with it, so we'll do more cork texture in a bit. But first, I need more cork debris. I'm using all my cork debris on this one. But yes, as Pendrick has pointed out, and as many of you already know, who have watched me do this before, I do often use a big piece of cork to stamp with. However, this green has been sitting around since the start of the stream, so that is not as ideal. If I had wanted to do a big piece of green with cork texture, I would have done it before this, when the green was more flexible. Now the green is best used to just build bulk out shapes, which is not taking advantage of its best features, but you know, this is a nice find. I have a tiny sliver of cork here that actually looks like I could plant it right down here and create the effect I want of the ridge going up. So I am probably going to do that instead of working with my green on this side. Let me get some texture paste down. So texture paste, in case you can't tell, I'm using it largely like glue. I'm not only using it for a texture, but for this flexible modeling paste, it's also a good adhesive for this. Kind of like white glue, but I find it sets up actually faster. And this will help kind of make these might be too big. Maybe. This one needs to go on the other side, I think. Messing up the front of this a little bit, making it more irregular so that I get the effect I want. And it's not too artificial. That's pretty good. That's a little bit too far. That's a little bit too big. Too big. There, that's better. Some of these big pieces I could actually use over here, so I'm going to do that. Yeah, it's pretty good. Sometimes you get happy accidents. I think I'm going to use my brush for this time because it's a synthetic and I don't care if I kind of wreck it here and there. And it's going to be easy to clean this out of. And this is the one time I'll leave it, I'll leave a brush in the water just briefly just to get that paste out of it. There, actually perfect. All right, next. So now I'm playing with some of these other ridges that I found from my bag of stuff. I've found a couple of other much shorter ridges like the one I put over on this side, but long thin pieces, right? So if I put those at the top of this, it will camouflage that ridge of green and make it look more like the stone that I want it to look like. And sometimes you have to mess around a little bit. And when I'm done with this, if I think I might have some loose cork, which is entirely possible when you're using these modeling pastes, put a thin layer of white glue or wood glue, your choice. Both are strong. I tend to use Elmer's all-purpose. I like it for this sort of thing. I'll thin it just a little, usually just like maybe a drop of water for a glob of glue, just enough to make it flow. There's not a precise ratio here, you just want to make it flow better. And another long thin piece which fits in perfectly. So you see how I'm building up this mountainside behind him, just based on my worm of green there. And yeah, I could have sculpted it more if my worm of green was had been a bit more flexible, but I waited too long with it, so that's fine. We can still use it. I mean, use it or lose it, right? So if your green is getting too crotchety to use the way you originally wanted it to go, that was too much on my knife. Then just use it a different way. Because otherwise you're not going to use it at all, and it's going to be wasted anyway because you've already mixed it up. So you may as well use it for something. So you can see how using this cork is really giving us it's a cool natural, I wanted that upward slope. I wanted to suggest the water was coming down, right? So that's what we're doing here. I really like this. This is really looking natural, and I love that. It takes some time, but doesn't everything. All right, and we're getting around to the point where I have to stop the stream, but I'm going to do one more kind of test here. Gotta watch out for that back cape. Yeah, see, I have to watch out where I'm positioning my cape. There we go. I knew there was a spot. There's one spot where the cape will fit, guys. One spot. Funny. But it does not interfere with anything. But what it means is I have to not put something on this back area right here, because that's where the cape is fitting. So here is where I'm going to take a texture stamp to my green. And here is where, after the fact, I'll probably go back in and make some little tiny adjustments after everything is set. But we'll get that cork texture in here, because I know if I press it down a little bit, it'll help it to fit. And I probably want to do something back here really quick. So let me grab my putty. Yep. Yeah, that's what I did with my my base for owlbear was my green catcher for years. Now that I'm actually using it for owlbear, I have to start a new green catcher. I don't think I'd actually be confident enough to build an animal or creature from it. Now we're just going to blob a bunch of this on. On the back side of this ridge, kind of shore it up, make it a little more durable, because it's such a thin piece, this ridge. So adding this, and remember this, the paste that I'm using is the flexible paste, and that's going to make this a little bit more durable. Because it's going to flex instead of falling off. I can also use this paste to disguise the line between layers. It's really good for that. It's super fast. I used to green stuff all this stuff, and now I can just flexible paste it. Let me see, a little bit more of this stuff, I think. 1 second, I need to grab my appropriate piece of debris. Just gonna kind of wallpaper a bunch of rocks back here. Just shore up my design. And make it look, this will shrink a little bit, this paste, just a little bit. I think it won't bulge. It'll kind of shrink back on itself because it does have a little bit of water content. And that will give us a rocky crag. Oh, not this stuff's already set, Kerniko. The stuff that I did at the start. And this will start to set. It'll soft set. But you can see how it's faded a little bit. It's not as bright white. So this now, if I poke it with my knife, it doesn't move. It'll chip before it moves. So, I mean, it depends on how thick you put it on too. If I'm putting it on thinly, it'll probably take half an hour, and maybe 45 minutes to full cure, I think. I would leave an hour. I would leave an hour and test it. If you put a real thick piece, I think this is probably going to take a little longer. But, I mean, it's soft set. Like now, like this piece that I just did over here, like I can move it if I poke it with my knife, but the outside layer is nicely skinned over, and it's just the underlying that still has to set. So this is pretty fast, not bad. I really like it. Like I can get, when I'm using it to do this, to build a wall out of cork bits, it's just so much faster than trying to green stuff to disguise the fact that I've used cork. And this ledge is still here. Now, I do leave flat ledges here and there because I'm going to put like some grass or something come out the back, right? Something like that. We can see this beautiful overhang we have here. And I'll probably, I might do some sculpting to make this appear like it's a slab of rock. Because that's kind of the look that I'm going for, right? And I'll probably also put some more cork on the back of this green stuff once it's cured. But yeah, so I think this is going to look lovely. I like it a lot already. We'll get water coming through our little fissure in the rocks here as well. I need to build that up just a little bit. But yeah, so that's what we got. That's what we got. And now that I've pressed that down, I should have a little bit more room to place him. Yes. All right, so he places nicely in front of the rise, and he's up on this great thing, and he looks fantastic. Oh no, yeah, 24 hours, no way. Like maybe if you were gonna sand, like if you got the non-flexible, but like this stuff, the flexible modeling paste, get this, Cornico, and it's a huge thing. It's gonna last you for freaking ever. If you're doing big dragon bases, it might last you less, but yeah, so that's our composition, guys. So we still got our foot. There we go. There we go. So it's nice, and it's his blade going out this way as well, giving this also to counterbalance that. I think is a really good look. And then I always try to look at it from different angles. So this also looks like a really good composition. It's kind of a pyramid, right? And then moving it around. This is also a good composition. He doesn't look off balance. He's got enough room in his front. And then the backside, I'll have to touch up the green caterpillar a bit. But the backside also looks cool because, especially if I put some sort of feature here to balance out that shield. Then we've got kind of a triangular composition here made up of diagonals. And that's what makes a dynamic base. So yeah, I might put some little feature here, or some little splash of color. But yeah, I'm really happy with this actually, guys. Really, really happy with this. And we'll use green to sculpt the water eventually, the basic shape of the water. Then we'll use water effects to flexible modeling paste. Yep. And remember, I'm going to do it right now so I don't forget, but remember that putting a few drops of water at least in there every time you use it. If you don't use it very often, like I don't use mine. I use mine maybe once every month or two. I might even just pour a little bit because this water is mostly clean. You can see that it's still pretty wet, but I'm going to put just a little bit. Like, see how much water I put in that? Just a little bit. I'm going to run it around. And that is going to keep that paste nice and wet so it doesn't go bad. Because otherwise, my problem with these in the past was, when I was younger, was always that, and I'm going to turn it so that the water goes up on the lid as well, because I was grabbing paste out of that. So yeah, so since it's water soluble, just put a little bit of water in it. Then you can put it nicely back. Now, storing it upside down isn't really going to do anything for you. With paint, if it's in a pot, storing it upside down will cause a fluid seal as the paint falls down. But because the paste is very thick, it's all going to sit in this this bottom part anyway, even if I turn it upside down. It might slowly creep, but it's not going to seal like the other way. So it's fine. You're fine storing it right side up. But really putting a little bit of water in it every time you use it is the way to go. But yeah, as I work with it, as I figure out what it's best at, I really like it. I also have some of the non-flexible ones, which are interesting if you need to make like stiff peak kind of like spell effects. I could see maybe doing that. I'd have to play around with it. I just haven't played around with it. I love my flexible ones so much because I know it's not going to break. But even the non-flexible are pretty stiff. If you wanted a really stiff, sharp texture on something, the non-flexible ones, the regular modeling paste would probably be like decent. But for this sort of thing, I want a little bit of flexibility, a little bit of play, because I find that's more durable if it takes a hit. So yeah, that's where I'm at right now. We didn't use all our green, but we never use all our green. But we did use some of it, and I'm happy with how this looks right now. So you can see that now we've disrupted that flat field, right? And now, once I've got his feet actually down on this, I can use gravel, grass, whatever, to disrupt the remaining flat areas so that we can definitely see, maybe even more paste down here. But I'll probably put a little bit of like grass down on these areas. Just a little bit of greenery, because it's springtime, right? So, yeah. That is what we're doing. So I hope you guys thought it was cool. I hope you like the effect. I might take just a little off of the bottom of this. I'm not sure yet. I need to do something about that flat bottom, but we'll deal with it. We'll deal with it next time. This is a work in progress. Yeah, work in progress. So, yeah, we'll have more stuff to do next time. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you learned a lot. Success. That's the way to spell it. Oh, okay. Notification. Yep. I will do that. Actually, I'll put it right up on my thing. Okay. I do have a message. I'm sorry. I didn't. I sent that one line message quick on stream, and I couldn't read your previous message, so I missed it. But hearts and I will be more attentive. Sorry. Yeah, you're crazy pot. That's a great name. All right, thanks everybody. And I will endeavor to be here tomorrow with more basing. Boy, we're gonna be doing a lot of basing, everybody. I don't remember seeing that notification before, but it may just have been my, brain. With parents coming, I was totally like off the goop. So, Ed! Tomorrow's Ed Day, everybody. Tomorrow's Ed. And I got my bases, guys. So, you probably didn't send it. Yeah. So I got my bases, and so we can start working on the basing of these guys. And I don't mind doing that. I need to get this in place if I'm going to do that. I kind of need to be able to envision what we're doing here. We do still need to do the medals on Mr. Skelly as well, but Ed himself is looking pretty snaz. And I can't do the glow effect on the snake staff until we get all this figured out. So, yeah, it's Ed Day tomorrow, guys. Ed Day. Yay! Ed Day! Yay! Thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. Come back at 2 p.m. for... Oh, it's Rhonda Day. Yay, Rhonda Day. Rhonda. Yes. Good. All right. Super. Thank you, everybody, and have a good one. I'll see you later.